So the brief was to come and talk about the social web, which was an interesting kind of title, actually, because it didn't say social media, it says this. And I started out going, well, where do you start trying to write a story about the social web? And I was like, well, if only there was some kind of co-created encyclopedia product that would give me the answer. And unfortunately, in the very heart, there's Wikipedia that says, social media employ web and mobile, blah, 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 to blah, 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 blah. You've either, if you've never looked at that page, maybe you should, and it will tell you. But what it's really saying is that it was the web and mobile thing I saw in there, based technologies to support interactive dialogue, and I was like, well, that's just all right, yeah. And then obviously, the other place you're going to go is to Facebook in 2004. It's funny, I've been talking about this shit so long, right? There was a point when I used to go, 2004, and everyone would be like, and then you go, God, that's ages ago now. And then there's loads of references in there that I used to put in talks in the day that they happened, and now they feel old. Anyway, I looked at all of that, and I thought, that just feels really thin. Like, web and mobile technologies for interactive dialogue, that doesn't feel like the social web to me. That feels like old talk, because it doesn't feel very Internet of Things, right? So, quick show of, if you, I can't do it. Who understands what the Internet of Things is? Hands in the air, quick. All right, not enough. So the Internet of Things is the Internet out in the world. So your fridge on the Internet, your car on the Internet, your T-shirt, if you've ever seen any stupid marketing that I've done with my business, on the Internet. And so the Internet of Things is taking the things in our world and plugging the Internet into them. And that's the curve of where we are today. So if you're thinking the Internet is still based on screens, it's not. It's exploding into the world. And that's what made me think that that description of the social web was very thin, because it was really based on the web in our mentality of it as being a screen-based medium and our phones. And actually, it's more ubiquitous than that. And I think that the social web is more cultural than that. And what I want to kind of profess to you today is the cultural effects of the social. I've just seen that. Now I'm thinking, yes. So it's bigger than that. And so I started thinking, well, where can I find a filter? Where can I find a reference that will give me a sense of consideration? And I thought technology, because it says technologies back here. Yeah, right there. And I thought, well, I'll go look at that. And how does Wikipedia say that? And the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes. I like that description of technology. I thought that was a good filter. Mainly because I like science stuff and I know nothing about it. So when I read up about it, I get really, really excited. And I thought, well, if I can look at the scientific knowledge of this a little bit, maybe if I can bend that and say the application of scientific knowledge to support interactive dialogue. So for me, the social web is an application of scientific knowledge to support interactive dialogue. That's what it's really doing. And so I got to this pithy title of The Science of Sharing Ideas, which I don't even know if it works yet. You can tell me afterwards and we can change it or whatever. But and I started to look at this, like like what is the science of sharing ideas? Because that's what the social web does. That's what the web has always done. It was built to share thoughts. It was built to share information. Nothing changed between web and Web 2.0. It was just a piece of marketing. So where do you start when you go like sharing ideas? And I guess you can start anywhere, right? You start with language. So language is invented to share thoughts and ideas. Don't drink Coca-Cola when you give talks. He says drinking more Coca-Cola. Sugar. Letters, books, right? These are all technologies. In fact, the book is a technology. I guess letters, language, that's technology. And so if you're going to start there, and I really thought, you know what, I'm going to write you a timeline of the social web, because it's not Facebook, the social web. But also, there's a history here and where we can find this kind of stuff. And I thought, hey, look, 3000 BC, alphabets, papyrus, Egyptians sharing information, writing stuff down. That's kind of interesting. 2000 BC, smoke signals on the Great Wall of China. So fire is a technology that's then used to push messages out. These are like tweets. Or maybe these ones are like tweets. Hashtag lol, you know. But I was like, hey, that's interesting, because they're using technology to create messaging, to connect with other people, to have an interactive dialogue. And they were doing it a long time before my face, you know. 1522, the pamphlet. I don't think I've really said the word pamphlet enough. It's a really good word. You should use it. I enjoyed writing it immensely and constantly spelt it incorrectly. But who would have thought the pamphlet was a kind of a social media in a sense? But this, I was just saying, I was researching this in Shanghai, and when you start looking at social media websites in a very restricted web environment, you start to think, who's looking over my shoulder as I'm searching about the Catholic Reformation of 1522? And you start to get a bit paranoid about the things you look up on the internet. But this is about Martin Luther, and what he did in this era. He wrote this thing called 95 Theses, which is really an attack on the Catholic Church, as I understand it, in my shallow comprehension. But what he did is he printed these things because the printing press now existed, because that was done, where are we, probably, I think like very late 15th century printing press, Caxton Press. Technology, again, making reprinting a movable type available. So this guy pinned this stuff to the church door for the people to read. Now the reason that the Protestant church came about is because it got reprinted, because printing was available in Europe, and people kept printing and reprinting his theses. So loads and loads of people could cheaply read it. So this was propagated by reprinting / retweeting. And the cultural change brought about that you've seen in the Arab Spring in 2010, the messages being able to propagate very, very quickly, you can trace back to this point in 1522 with the Reformation of the Catholic Church, which I find really fascinating, that you can find these behaviors through technology being existent for 500 years or more in a sense.